boy who walked this alleyway, minding automobiles, polishing brights and hoods for a quarter's tip, has seen this car for 3 days consecutive. He hadn't called the police until he'd looked inside. He'd taken a flashlight, a good one, and pressing his face against the left rear quarter light, he'd scanned the luxurious interior, minding he didn't touch the white walls with his dirty, toe-peeping kickers. This wasn't no ordinary car. There was something about it that had drawn him inside. More people had gathered by then, and down a half a block or so, some folks had opened up the doors and windows on a house party, and the music was coming down with the smell of fried chicken and roasted pecans. And when a plain Buick showed up, and someone from the medical examiner's office stepped out and walked toward the alleyway, there were quite a few people down there, maybe 25, maybe 30. And there was music, our human syncopations, as good tonight as any other. The smell of chicken reminded the ME's man of someplace, some time he couldn't remember now, and then it started raining in that lazy tail end of summer way that seemed to wet nothing down, the kind of way that no one had a mind to complain about. It had been a hot summer, a quiet kind of brutality, and everyone could remember how bad the smell got when the storm drains backed up in the last week of July, and how they spilled God only knew what out into the gutters. It steamed, the flies came, and the kids got sick when they played down there. Heat blistered at 90, tortured through 95, and when 100 sucked the air from parched lungs, they called it a nightmare and stayed home from work to shower, to wrap split ice in a wet towel and lie on the floor with their cool hats pulled down over their eyes. The examiner man walked down. Early 40s, name was Jim Emerson. He liked to collect baseball cards and watch Marx Brothers movies, but the rest of the time he crouched near dead bodies and tried to put 2 and 2 together. He looked as lazy as the rain, and you could sense in the way he moved that he knew he was unwelcome. He knew nothing about cars, but they'd run a sheet through come morning and they'd find, just like the car boy had figured, that this wasn't no ordinary automobile. Mercury Turnpike Cruiser, built by Ford as the XM in 56, released commercially in 57. V8, 290 horsepower at 4,600 revs per minute, Merc-O-Matic transmission, 122-inch wheelbase, 4,240 pounds in weight. This one was a hardtop, one of only 16,000 ever built, but the plates were Louisiana plates, and should have been on a '69 Chrysler Valiant, last booked for a minor traffic violation in Brookhaven, Mississippi 7 years before. The car boy, released without charge within an hour and a half of his report, had stated emphatically that he'd seen blood on the back seat, a real mess of it, all dried up on the leatherwork, clotted in the seams, spilled over the edge of the seats and down on the floor. Looked like a sucking pig had been gutted in there. The cruiser wore a lot of glass, its retractable rear window, quarter lights, and sides designed to permit full enjoyment of the wide new vistas open to turnpike travelers. Gave the boy a good look at the innards of this thing, because that's what he'd figured was in there. And he wasn't so far from right. These were the Chalmette and Araby districts, edge of the French business quarter, New Orleans City, state of Louisiana. This was a humid August Saturday night, and only later did they clear the sidewalks, haul out that car, and lever the trunk. Assistant Medical Examiner Emerson was there to see a can of worms opened right up, and even the cop who stood beside him, hard-bitten and weather-worn though he was, even he took a rain check on dinner. So they levered the trunk, and inside they found some guy, couldn't have been much more than 50 years of age, and Emerson told anyone who'd listened that he'd been there for 3, perhaps 4 days. Car had been there for 3, if the boy's observation was correct, and there were sections of the trunk's interior, bare metal strips, where the man's skin had adhered in the heat. Emerson had one hell of a job. Eventually, he decided to freeze the metal strips with some kind of spray, and then peeled the skin away with a paint scraper. The trunk, Vic, looked like mystery meat, smelled worse, and the autopsy report would read like an auto smash. Severe cerebral hemorrhaging, puncture of